Hello everyone. Hope all of you are safe and healthy. This is Lopamudra Dev once again with another video. As usually today's session also I will start with a motivational quote, and today's quotation is work for a cause, not for applause. Live life to express, not to impress. Which I personally feel that we should always keep doing or keep working for some good cause, which are productive for the society, for the nation, and for the world as a whole. No matter whether we get any appreciation or encouragement for that or not, we should keep doing good work, and we should always live our life on our own conditions. We should express our good feeling, good thought, which are beneficial for the society, and we should not very much concern about impressing other. If we waste our time in impressing others, that will be wastage of our valuable lifespan. So wish you all inculcate this nature in yourselves and will continue doing good work and will be productive members of the society and productive citizen of a country and member of the world as a whole. So now I will proceed towards today's topic. Actually, this today's video is the continuation of my previous video where I started discussing about the principles of growth and development. There I said you about the stages of development. If you have forgotten, let me help you to recall. We discussed about the stages of development. Actually, to understand the principles of growth and development, it's very essential to know about various stages. We discussed that the stages of growth and development of an individual is broadly categorized into prenatal and postnatal development. Prenatal development, it starts from conception, that is from a formation of zygote until lasts till birth. And postnatal development starts from birth and ends with death of an individual, and it continues through various stages, which is neonatal, that is from birth to 15 days of age. Then the infancy comes, which lasts till 2 years. Then the childhood, again, which is divided into two stages, which is early childhood and the later childhood. Early childhood, it's from 2 years to after completion of 2 years it starts, and it lasts till 6 years of age. And then the later childhood comes, which starts from 7 years of age and lasts till 11 to 12 years. And then the most important stage of an individual's growth and development, that is adolescence, comes, which is again from 11 to 12 years of age till 19 to 20 years. Then the adulthood comes, and ultimately the stage of aging. And here, with the death of an individual, the process of growth and development ends. Okay, so I think that I could help you to recall various stages of development. Now let's proceed towards the principles of growth and development. In the previous video, I discussed about principle of dissimilarity, principle of regression, principle of Weismann, principle of regression to purity. And I said that these three core principles are completely related to the heredity of an individual, which follows the hereditary rule. And then I also discussed about principles of continuity, principle of uniform sequence, and then principle of uniform pattern. So today in this video I will start with principle of predictability. I hope with the term predictability only you have assumed that what will be discussed in this particular point. Sorry, it is predictability. Predictability. So, what this principle says is that with the help of uniformity of the pattern or sequence of development, uh, we can, uh, to a great extent, we can forecast the general nature and behavior of a child in one or more aspects or dimensions of growth and development. Actually, there is a proverb that morning shows the day. I think all of you are well acquainted with this proverb. That means by seeing the morning weather condition, we can predict that how will be the weather condition in the day, throughout the day. So same that is rule is applicable here also. At the beginning of the stages of development, by observing some general characteristics, by having knowledge about the unique pattern and sequence of development, we can predict that how the child or the particular individual will be in its later say, stages of development. Suppose for example, if a child show at the beginning, if a child show very much interest towards suppose drawing or some artistic works, we can predict that when the child will, and if those that particular interest can is nourished, in that case we can predict that the child may be an artist or a painter or a sculpture in its later stages of development. So same way we can also predict mental ability, the emotional characteristics, the social characteristics of an individual by observing its preliminary characteristics. That's what is said in the principle of predictability. Now let's come to principle of heredity and environment, which is a very very important principle, and there are many controversies also regarding. Many psychologists and scientists say that the characteristic, not only the physical but also the emotional, social, cognitive characteristics. Some psychologists like Galton, Pearson, that is Carl Pearson. I think you have heard about them. They are extreme genetic. They always followed genetic or hereditary determinism. They said that everything is determined by heredity. Again, like J.B. Watson, he was again a believer of environmentalist approach. But later on, it was found that it's not only heredity or only environment determines the characteristics of developmental stages or developmental characteristics of an individual. There are influence of both. It's not, and we cannot say that they are equally, they have equal influence. Like we cannot say that the ratio is 50 is to 50, or we cannot say that hereditary has more influence than that of environment, like 80-20. No such thing can be said, but it is very true that we can that both heredity and environment have their influences, in the development of an individual. So it can be concluded that whatever qualities an individual attain in its life are in hereditary. That means they have influence of the genetic characteristics, that is the chromosome, and all the evocations of the qualities depend on the environment. That means characteristics we acquire from our forefathers or our parents in the form of gene, but sorry, but to evocate all those characteristics, environment has great importance. So this is about principle of heredity and environment. The next principle is principle of interaction. Here I have made a change. I just replace principle 10 with that of principle 16, because this principle 9 and 10 they are quite similar, and then again principle 15 and 16 they are again quite similar. So after explaining the principle of heredity and environment, it will be easier for you to understand the principle of interaction. Here also the same thing is said, that the ultimate nature of an individual is the result of interaction between the genetic character and the environmental character. That means when whatever a child characteristic reflects, whatever characteristics are reflected by an individual, these are the results of interaction between their hereditary character and the that is environmental character. Like there is two kinds of environment. When we talk about the growth and development in an individual, in that case we need to consider two kinds of environment. One is internal environment, that is from conception till birth, whatever environmental whatever environmental condition faced by the child inside the mother's womb, like the nutrition provided to the mother, the mental, that is emotional and mental situation of the mother, everything has its great influence on the child. That is why it is said that before birth the mother needs to take very good care of herself, because whatever the mother does, it has direct impact on the child's health, child's mental ability, so many things are there. So that is called internal environment, which lasts from conception till birth. And the external environment is the outer environment, the after birth, whatever environmental condition faced, whatever external forces, whatever external stimulations received by the individual, like its socio psychological environment, its physical environment, everything, whatever faced by the child after birth, that is its external environment. So the growth and development, at any stage of growth and development, the individual's behavior, or you can say the personality of an individual, is nothing but the end product of the constant interaction between the hereditary endowment and environmental setup. As I said about JB Watson, then who is in that is environment, who was in favor of environmental deterministic. Then again some psychologists, they were that is they believed in hereditary determinism, but ultimately it was proved that it's neither only hereditary characteristics, nor only environmental condition, but both has interactive impact on the overall personality of an individual. So that is all about said in principle 10, that is the principle of interaction. That means it is said that the personality makeup of an individual is nothing but the end product of the interaction between the environment and the hereditary factor. Now, let's move on to the next one, that is the principle of interrelatedness, which is again very, very important. And when you are dealing with the children in the classroom situations, this particular that is this particular principle is also very, very important. In this principle, as we know that there are various dimensions of growth and development, like the physical development, the emotional development, the cognitive development, the social development, everything, all are various dimensions of the process of growth and development. So if and this particular principle says that all these dimensions are very, very corely related to each other. That is, if one of the dimension is not achieved, then it will have a negative impact on the other dimensions, or vice versa. So, suppose a child who is physically very fit, who is a good looking one, so that particular child, that is person, it's found that that particular person is normally having above average cognitive ability. That particular persons are emotionally stable. They maintain good social relationship. On the other hand, inadequate physical or mental development in an individual again may lead the individual to be a maladjusted person, because that one, suppose the person is not having good cognitive ability, the person is physically not fit, he is having some disabilities, physical disabilities. In that case, what will happen, the child will be little unsocial, he will be try to be isolated, so that he or she can hide her disabilities from the others. Then he or she will be little emotionally unstable. So that's how the being the teachers, our main motto is to develop full grown personality of an individual. We cannot that is emphasize one particular a single dimension of growth and development in the cost of other. We need to take care of all the dimension, so that an individual can develop as a whole. The overall personality of the individual can be developed. So this is all about the principle of interrelation. Hope that is I am trying from my side that to make you understand the things clearly. Hope you are also been able to understand what am I explaining. So next principle is, again, I personally feel is very, very important for a teacher, for a teacher educators, because they are the nation builders. Ultimately, that huge responsibility is on the shoulders of the teachers. So to make the teaching effective, this particular principle has great importance in the classroom situation. This is principle of individual differences. See, we have, while discussing about the principles, we repeatedly saying that the growth and development of an individual, if that means growth and the process of growth and development follows some definite pattern, follows some definite sequence, follows some uh, uniformity in various aspects. Still, the individual, they are bearing different genetic character, which is very very specific, which is very very unique in various dimensions, because they acquire those genetic characters particularly from their parents and the forefathers. So that's how, no matter the students of a single class are having are in same stage of growth and development, they are bearing some common features. The process of growth and development bears some that is common features, they follow some definite rules. Still, they are unique from one another, they are different from one another. That's why we cannot deal uh, with all the children with a common technique of teaching, or we cannot implement a common method of teaching in the classroom. We need to take care of this particular that is principle into account. We need to find out the uniqueness of the individual, and by considering that uniqueness we need to deal with them. Then only we can say that the our teaching is effective and the children are getting, each and every children of the class is getting benefited from the teaching provided by the particular teacher. So this individual difference, because they are specific, they are distinct creations. How the they can, how a single individual can be very completely same with that of the similar with that of the other. This distinctness will always be there. So we also, being teachers, we also need to deal with the children by considering this particular principle into consideration. So this is all about the principle of individual differences. Now, this is a very important one. This is principle of lack of uniformity in developmental rate. That is very important, because we have discussed about uniform sequence, we said about uniform pattern. Then you might be thinking that everywhere we got the term uniformity, we are telling that the growth and development, it follows, it is operated by some general rules. Then why again ununiformity comes? This ununiformity is about the developmental rate. We are talking about the developmental rate, that means how fast or slow an individual is growing. Okay, so what happens is, in a case of, it is applicable to each and every individual, that is the children, what happens is, in passing through different developmental um, stages, the in while passing through different developmental stages, sometimes the individual shows very rapid changes in their features, and sometimes again the changes are very silent. We cannot distinguish, the changes are very that is in, sometimes it's almost invisible over a long duration, but sometimes again we find the changes are very rapid or very fast. Suppose if you take the example of an infant child, so you will find that if you, I think all of most of you have observed a child growing from birth. uh, so if you see that in during the infancy, a infant, it grows very rapidly. Rapidly means it's very fast. uh, Again, when the child comes to the stage of childhood, we will find it is found that the changes are very very silent, the changes are very gradual. Almost sometimes we cannot distinguish that whether there are any changes, that any changes or any differences are acquired by the child or not. So because here what happens, the changes are again very slow, or you can say that is silent. So that's how what happens, the rate of development are not uniform. It's not that it gradually increases or it gradually decreases. In such case we could say that it's there is uniformity, but there is lack in uniformity because they do not show any such kind of changes. Sometimes they show it, sometimes it's very fast, and then sometimes again very slow. So that's why it is said that there is lack in uniformity of developmental pattern when a child proceed from one stage of development to another. Okay, hope you have understood. Let's proceed to the next principle, that is principle of uh, development. Here these are two important sub principles I have mentioned here. Let me first let you know the meaning of these two terms. The meaning of these two terms will help you to understand the principle easily. So let's start with cephalocaudal. Let's start with cephalocaudal. Cephalocaudal, it says that the process of development, it starts from head and move towards the foot. The control of a child, it begins with the head and it gradually proceed towards the foot. So it's very common, it can be easily observed that after birth a child, after 4 to 5 years, 4 to 5 months of its age, it first start that means can control its head. The head can be controlled first, then gradually they start sitting, they can sit, then they can stand, and ultimately they can walk. That means the control of the individual, it start from head, then it proceed to the vertebral column, that is the backbone, normally we say. It's signed the then uh, which make the child sit, then gradually it proceed towards the below, that makes the child stand by that is keeping its control over its legs, and then gradually with full control on the legs the individual or the child start walking. Okay, that is said in the cephalocaudal principle. That means process of development always follows this rule. And then another is proximodistal. These terms may be a little new for you, those who are from, suppose, other backgrounds. Proximodistal means, okay, let me draw a circle. I'm not been able to draw properly, it's not possible also. We know that every circle has a center. So proximodistal principle development says that the control of on organ by an individual, it starts from the center and proceed towards the outside, towards the periphery. That means from inward to outward. Okay, suppose a child, it first starts that is bringing control on its arm, and then gradually that control proceed to the fingers. Suppose at the beginning the child, they can move their hand but they cannot utilize the activities of fingers very clearly. But gradually when they proceed to the advanced stages of development, they bring control on their fingers and can use or utilize the fingers to do many works gradually. So this is all about proximo-distal principle of growth and development. Next one is principle of spiral versus linear advancement. So before moving to the this particular principle, let me just make the graphic board little clear so that I can continue explaining. Otherwise it has become very what to say. So please do share the video if you think that some of your friends can get benefited from this particular video. Don't hesitate to share, because if you share knowledge, your knowledge span will increase. So we should never hesitate to share knowledge. So let me start. That is spiral to versus linear. Principle of spiral versus linear. I think you know the meaning of the terms. Like if we plot the developmental rate of an individual, suppose just a little bit diagrammatically, let me explain. Suppose if you plot the developmental rate of a normal child, what you will never find that it's not that it's very steady. It grow, if it is very steady, that means neither increase, that means in a very steady rate. If it increases, you will get this particular kind of line, straight line. If it gradual it if it that means increases in a rapid rate, you will get that kind of. So this is also again a straight line, but such kind of thing we will not find, because just now we have discussed about that is something related to that this particular principle. What we found that the rate of growth and development, it it never take place in a very constant or steady pace. In at some particular stage the development is fast, then it give a pause. Pause means it takes some rest, and this rest period is also very important to consolidate the first fast or rapid growth of the developmental features. Otherwise what will happen, if with the same rate the developmental features keep changing, it will ultimately lead to a abnormal personality, an abnormal creature. But we, to make a balanced personality, to give an individual a balanced physical feature, this consolidation or resting period is very important. That's why what happened, in some stages it's very rapid, and then again it gives a pause, and then again it rapid, and then it gives pause. That's how it makes a spiral kind of that is what to say, representation. So the developmental turns back and then moves forward again in a spiral pattern. That's how sometimes it's very fast, then again it's slow, then again it's faster, then again it's slower. That's how it proceeds. So that is all about principle of spiral versus linear. That is the developmental pattern or the advancement, the path followed by the development of an individual it always spiral, never linear. Okay, so again I'll have to that make the page little clearer so that rest of the principles can be explained. Actually so many more principles are there, that may, but I have not listed because it's not uh, many principles actually. It comes under the general things, like I have not made the sub principles, only those who are important and I think you should know very clearly, those things only I have listed. But some of the principle that I have not listed, that those also I will explain little bit before ending the session. Now the next principle is principle of proceeding from general to specific responses, again which is very very important. Like we need to understand uh, the principle of what to say, general to specific. That is how the responses uh, given by the individual, it proceeds from general to specific one. Suppose what happens, I don't know whether you have witnessed such incidents or not, but these are very common incidents when at the beginning, when the children at the early days of its infancy, when it's, or you can say when they start speaking, what they do, they address most of the male as their father. That means whatever uh, asked, like papa, so such kind of words they use for almost all the male members of the family. Then gradually during the later stages of development, they understand that this particular word cannot be used for any male member of the family, that should be only used for his or her father. So first it's general, that means they address the all the male members of the family with the word, and then gradually they move towards the specific. They understand that this particular person is the father, and they address that particular person as papa. Similarly, that is also a matter of observation. When a child cries, that means at the early days of its life, you will find that the whole body involves in the process of crying. That means not only the eyes, but the head, the hands, the that is the rest of the parts of the body also involved in the process of crying. But gradually when we grow, when we move to the later stages of development, we only involve our eyes in the process of crying. So that also, that means it from whole body expression to it moves to the facial expression, and then gradually specifically in the eyes. So that also shows the general to specific, that is your responses. Okay, that is again another principle followed by growth and development of an individual. And the last but not the least, um, the principle is uh, of integration. Like I was telling you about some other principle also that I have not listed here, but I'm going to explain with you. Along with this, another thing comes, that is whole to parts. All these things can be discussed in that particular principle, that is principle of integration. The last one is principle of integration. That means all are integrated. One thing cannot be isolated from the other. Okay, so what happens, the suppose general to specific or from whole to part, it doesn't mean that we are talking about any particular dimension, or we are not talking about any particular that is responses, any specific responses in an individual. All these things are applicable to all the dimensions of growth and development. This particular principle is supported by Kappusamy. He also supported the development. He said that development involves a movement from whole to parts, and again from parts to whole. Okay, so that's how things are very very integrated. The things are very corely associated. The that means, as we cannot all the parts of, suppose if you are talking about a machine, all the parts has its individual functions, and when all the parts work together, then the whole machine work as a whole. So that's how the whole along with the parts are also has equal importance. When there will be satisfactory relationship between among the parts, then only it will lead to the that is it will lead something satisfactory as a whole. That means what, all the aspects or dimensions of the growth and development must be nourished in part satisfactorily, then only we can say that we can that means the personality of the individual as a whole will be an what to say, dynamic or charismatic one. Okay, so these are the principles that I have listed. Then some other principles also there. Let me just because the things are principles are also not very that is separated. All the principles that are listed here also has some relationship among one another. Like I think while explaining the principle also, many times you found me doing repetition of some of the concepts, because the principle, most of the principle also are very integrated. They are not very isolated from one another. Next, some principle like these are also some general rules or patterns observed during the course of development in an individual, like concrete principle of concrete to abstract. Concrete to abstract. Suppose what happens if we take cognitive development into consideration. The children cannot form any image in their mind which is not visible to them, which is not in concrete form. They cannot imagine something very abstract. That's why teachers need to take care of this thing very very carefully. uh, because suppose a maths teacher teaching maths in a that is primary class. Suppose the teacher is teaching some simple mathematics. She needs to make them know how what is addition, what addition is. Suppose instead of making them know about that means learn mathematics by following such kind of things like 2 plus 2 equal to 4, instead of doing, they can because they don't form that particular image in their mind at the early stages of development. Gradually after the age of 11, abstract that is concept they can form. Before that, it has to be concrete. So instead of that is teaching them mathematics mathematics with this procedure, they can simply show them two balls plus two balls, and then ultimately it will be four balls. So that is all about principle of concrete to abstract. Then principle of egocentrism to perspectivism. Egocentrism is what the children are actually very unsocial during their early stage of development. They want everyone's concern. They are just attention seekers. They find themselves someone prince or princess without crown. They think that they are the all in all, and everyone should listen to them, and everyone should be attentive to them only. So that egocentrism makes them little unsocial. But when they gradually proceed toward the later stage of development, that means from suppose from the late childhood, they become perspectivism. They try to understand other perspectives. They try to understand other feelings. That ego, that means that attention seeking attitude now, that means gradually what disappears. Okay, so that is the principle of egocentrism. That and particular these things are very common in all the individual of a particular age group. uh, so this much only I suppose to discuss with you all. Hope this video will be beneficial for you. I will come up with more such videos, and it's a request to you, please do share and like my video, and don't forget to send your valuable comments, because those comments make me that is encouraged to upload more videos. And at last I want to say you all that please do take care of yourself. The situation is getting worse day by day. Not only yourselves, you take care of your surroundings, your near and dear ones. And I am winding up the video here uh, with the great hope that you will all like my video, and there will be more subscriber after uploading this video. So bye bye. uh, Wish your all of yours good health. Bye for now.